Good morning and
Good
welcome
morning.
to Faith in Politics
Day two.
Day 2. Thank
Good
you so
morning.
much for joining us. I am Dr. Apostle Ivan Valerie from Faith and Works Ministries, and together with me is Pastor
Tarana Grandson.
and also a journalist at
Yes.
Carib Request Media.
Yes.
So we thank God for what He has done.
Amen.
We would like to remind everyone that this is Faith in Politics, and we are asking you to please share the broadcast, please share the live, please share the broadcast. Before we go to our candidates for today, Pastor Tarana, what are your views on yesterday's broadcast?
Oh, I believe that it was phenomenal, Apostle. I believe it was very informative in terms of the information that we received. And remember the hashtag we took away from yesterday. Perhaps we'll have another one today. But the hashtag that we took away from yesterday was vetting before voting,
Vetting before
or
voting.
vet before you vote.
Yes.
And so this opportunity in such a candid way to be able to hear from the different political candidates, but specifically from those who would have been invited as they have openly confessed their faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Those were the ones that we targeted by sending official letters to their political parties and then asking the political parties, either the foundation president or the leader, to nominate these persons to appear
Yes.
on their behalf. And I'm just really looking forward to today's discussion as well as what will come tomorrow, because there's some revelations that are coming forth. We're getting to hear more from these people, understand who they are and what is their motivation for wanting to get involved or re-enter public life.
Yes, definitely. Well said. We are asking you, our online viewers, we are being streamed live on Facebook and YouTube, to please, if you have any questions, send them out in the comment sections,
Right.
and we will get them to the candidates. Today, we have a very wonderful set of guests. We have 3 guests today. We have a representative from the Democratic Party. We have persons from the Now Party, and also a representative from the OMC. Now, please, Pastor Tarana, just share how we came up with the order of the representatives.
Right. I believe it was on July 17th or 18th, if I'm not mistaken, that the Central Voting Bureau invited all of the political parties. There are 9 parties. They invited them to Parliament and they had to pull their numbers to determine how they would be coming on the ballot paper.
Right.
And so we decided at SMUF, the St. Martin United Ministerial Foundation, to follow that same order in terms of the appearances of the political parties. And so yesterday would have been reserved for whom is number 1, number 2, number 3. Today it should be number 4, which is Walishi Movement for Change. Number 5.
No, I think
No,
D-
number 4
DP
is the
DP
Democratic Party.
right.
I'm
Number
sorry.
5.
Number 5 is the Walichi Movement for Change, the OMC, and then number 6, Nation Opportunity Wealth, the Now
Yes.
Party.
Yes.
And it's along that same trajectory that we will continue into tomorrow's broadcast.
Yes.
You know, so in all fairness, because some people might be asking, why is this one appearing before that one? Really, we are people of faith, but we practice what we preach. And so integrity is very, very important for us. We also left it up to the party's leadership to determine, based on our nominations, for those who would have joined the broadcast and they confirmed. And we're so happy for all those who have already confirmed to be a part of the broadcast. And as I understand, Apostle, some people are saying that this is like a hot seat now and they're rethinking if they should still be joining. You know, after yesterday, we got so much feedback.
Oh my goodness.
Because it appeared to be a bit unconventional. I don't know why, in terms of the questions coming from the church.
We are just seeking to inform the community at large,
Yes.
but more specifically the faith-based community. We believe that as a faith-based community, we make up a majority of the total electorate. And so we are hoping that we can inform the entire community, but more so the faith-based community. Also, we are asking, and the reason why, let me explain this. The reason why in the letter to the different parties, we requested certain candidates. And the reason why we did is because we believe that these candidates are the ones that are professing to be Christians. Now, we are not We are not, and
disclaimer.
we are not saying that the persons we bring on are Christians. That is their own personal belief and in God, and we are just saying that these individuals are professing to be Christians, and that by virtue of that they are targeting the faith-based community. And we are not telling you who to vote for. I want to make this clear. This program is not to tell you who to vote for. That is why we have hashtag vet before you vote. And so without any further ado, let us introduce our guest for today. We have with us, representing the Nation Opportunity Wealth Party, the NOW Party, we have with us Mr. Keith Peter G. Gittens. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody locked in, listening online. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be here, man.
Awesome. Good to have you here with us. Thank you for taking up the opportunity to just communicate with our community and the St. Maarten at large. Also, we have from the OMC, the Quality Movement for Change, we have Mr. Everson Adamus. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Okay, we saw him in the back room earlier.
Yeah, he's there. How are you doing, sir? Can you hear us?
All right, he may be experiencing some technical difficulties. We will certainly get back to you. That's the number 2 on the Quality Movement for Change. We'll get back to you, Mr. Adamus, as we go to the next candidate who's...
Well, sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. We're going to come back on. Just bear with us, all right? Welcome back. Sorry for the interruption. Thank you for your patience as we get this going. So we were introducing Mr. Everson Adamus. I think he is he's back now. Good day, Mr. Adamus. How are you doing?
Blessing. Doing fine.
Bless him. Thank you for being on and representing your party. We thank you for taking up the opportunity to just speak to and converse with our community, especially when it relates to faith in politics. And we also thank your organization for allowing you to be part of with us.
Amen. Thanks for the privilege.
Thank you. Also, we have from the Democratic Party, Mr. Akan Roberto Richardson. Good day, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Apostle. It's a pleasure, and I'm very honored and humbled to be here amongst all of the distinguished panelists, and for getting the opportunity on behalf of the Democratic Party to speak on faith in politics.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to get into the questions. That's what we are here for. And I'm going to let my dear, a highly esteemed and well professional journalist take the lead of the questions today, because I believe she does an exceptional job. So I'm going to bring all on screen and we're going to get the questions going. All right.
Thank you so much, Apostle. Humbled by the opportunity to be able to be a part of this and facilitate something that is so needed in St. Martin. As we get ready to ask the questions, I would like to lay down some house rules,
Sure,
because
no problem.
yesterday we did go a little bit over our production time. We would like to keep this broadcast to at least 90 minutes. Perhaps we will see what will happen, but we're asking all of the interviewees to limit your responses to 3 minutes maximum if you can. If there is something that you will want to elucidate on further, you can always use another opportunity later on to bring that in. But we want to get as many responses and as many questions as possible in today's broadcast. Remember as well, we're on Facebook via Ivan Valerie's Facebook, Dr. Ivan Valerie Live, the SMUMF, SXM Facebook, and CarquestMedia Media Facebook. On any of those platforms, you can feel free to send in your questions. We are not here to offer our opinions. No, we are being impartial in this, but later on in the week, at the end of our
That is what it lost the signal. Mr. Damas, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Signal is going on and on.
I wasn't sure, and I know that we're streaming, and I was just waiting and giving the host a chance to get back on.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that they left us in a position where it's just you and I, and our other candidate is not on screen as well. Otherwise, we could continue a very open and frank discussion in the meantime.
Of course. I mean,
Who's viewing.
This is not our first time we met, and I mean, we're friends.
Nothing but love for you. Yeah. Unfortunately, we're being faced with it looks like maybe possibly another GB incident.
Yeah, because here in Retreat Estate, GB just gone.
Yeah.
So the Wi-Fi would be better for me, but now I had to turn to direct internet.
Into the direct internet. Right. We still have 4 at this location. So hopefully it stays up. But yeah. And I'm sure this would have been one of the topics that we would have discussed this morning.
Definitely.
The ongoing GB saga. Which stems from
this got the entire country in stress, tired.
Yeah.
Especially business people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's across the board. Businesses, individuals alike. I mean, business persons, you feel it because you lose so many hours in a day. You can't generate income, but your overhead still remains the same. So things like, the same electricity bills, your water, your employee salaries, all of those things remain the same. You still have to pay.
And considering the sick people, especially if you suffer from high blood pressure, and then you have heat, your health is in danger.
You go into the fridge 1 or 2 times, but electricity has been gone for 6-7 hours. So even your ice starts to melt.
Can you imagine the children in school without electricity and that heat? They can't study, they can't focus.
We're back.
And they're back.
Oh my goodness.
We sincerely apologize for that. We have been the victim yet of another GB hit, and it really knocked off our router. So we apologize for that to the entire island and all our viewers. We apologize. We thank you guys, the candidate for the Now Party and also the OMC, for holding it down in our absence.
Definitely. And that's a great way for us to start our discussion today as well, Apostle. GB is a government-owned company. St. Maarten is the only shareholder of this company. And over so many years, different administrations, we've been talking so much about GB until it has gotten to the point where it is at now. Gentlemen, we would like to ask you, do you believe that we lack the political will to decisively deal with this GB crisis once and for all, put the best solutions out there? Is there a lack of political will? Because, of course, everybody is concerned and people are talking about the problems, the solution, and a decisive solution vis-a-vis an energy solution, not just GB. We will start with the number 23 from the Democratic Party, Mr. Richardson. Do we lack the political will?
It's a very, 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 very broad question. I don't say I would say we lack the political will, but there's a lot of different aspects playing around the whole GB situation. But you have to look at the history of GB. You have to understand the history. You have to understand this historical management. Yeah. Can you follow me, guys?
Yes, go ahead. We're hearing you. Go ahead.
Yes. The whole GB situation is not something of today. It's not something of a few years ago. It's something that has been reoccurring and has been running over the past decades with previous governments, knowing, let's say, the life of these generators, for example, and not acting and doing something about it. At times, in government and politics and with politicians, at times we act after the fact. We wait until something is, is at wit's end to do something, so we're not proactive. And that is something that is very unfortunate. And that is why this Democratic Party has been, we have been on the campaign kind of talking about the fact that we are a proactive party. We are a party with a legendary history of 70 years, in which we have proven in difficult times that we are able to build and sustain and restructure and do what it takes to bring St. Martin back to the level economically that it needs to be. And so I just wanted to just say that, but the political will, for sure, in this Democratic Party and this group of candidates is there to take us, to move us on, and to resolve in all of the matters that we are facing now with GEBE. I'm not hearing anything.
Aturan, I wasn't hearing anything you were saying. I don't know if you give me
Me
that
as well, not hearing anything.
Okay. So go again.
Okay, can you repeat for us, please,
No,
Peter?
he didn't hear anything you said, so he has to repeat it.
Are you hearing us now?
Yes, I
Yes.
am.
Thank you. I believe we really have to be resilient people by now and adjust to all of these things that are happening. It comes with the territory. However, we hope that we will see improvements later on. However, back to our original question, Peter, the same question that Mr. Richardson received. Do we lack the political will in St. Martin? Because that's where it starts. GB is a government-owned company. We are the only shareholder to have a decisive solution to this GB crisis vis-a-vis the energy crisis in St. Martin. Why should people be suffering for so long?
Well, I will go straight in and I will say directly, yes, I do believe that we lack the political will. As a matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. I would say that most of the governments in years past don't actually have a vision or a plan for how this country should actually be moving forward. GB is just a fine one example that shows that moving that as politicians, as leaders in this country, some of us tend to forget. I heard Roberto just speak of the amount of years of the DP being in power, and we're going to get back to that, Roberto. But just thinking about, and I try to pick my words very carefully because I don't want to step on toes. So I'll say this: I was in government for the last 2 years in the last administration, and we knew that there were issues with GEB. Even before then, we knew that there were issues with GEB. And there are certain things that come to the mind and come to play. For instance, the fuel clause of GEB, something that the Now Party believes should be totally eradicated from bills because we do not, as people, you do not, as people, deserve to be paying a fuel clause. But of course, we know the public secrets, it's general knowledge that certain things are tied to certain politicians and certain political families. And as such, over the years, nothing has been done about GEBE. So the truth of the matter is we need persons in there that have no ties, that have a concrete vision, a concrete plan moving forward for GEBE and other areas to be able to give the people the service, the not just the service, but the quality of life that they deserve.
Thank you for your response. We go over to Mr. Adamas, number 2 on the OMC. The same question, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I don't see nobody else to get involved in this. Nobody else to blame, but it's our politicians, it's the parties, those that has been in power and hasn't done anything about GB. And who are those who are suffering now? It's not only them, everybody, our children, The entire St. Maarten is suffering. And if you don't know about electricity and you are in charge, you're over it, it don't make no sense. Because sometimes you find people putting in place and they don't know anything about the position that they put them in. How can I overlook GB if I don't know how much is a kilowatt, a megawatt, or omega? I cannot bring in 16, 17 megawatt when I need 27. We cannot prepare for today. We have to prepare for tomorrow. So if I bring the exact amount for today, and 3-4 years from now, I build more hotels, more houses come, we're gonna be in the same mess again. So we need to really take care of what we are doing. And these governments we had lately, I can't see a thing that they have done.
So thank you so much, Mr. Adamas. At the level of the company, I would like to have a follow-up there. Are you then saying that the interim management committee of GB, they are not competent? These are not professionals. They don't know the measurements for kilowatts, what is needed, and so forth?
Not everybody.
Okay, what solution are you offering?
Okay, that's good. If we're talking about solution, then we're talking about what needs to be done to solve the problem.
Yes.
Because pointing at the problem, it don't make no sense. Everybody can point at it. They bring a temporary solution, as they said, with the generators. They rent them, which not agree with that. To rent some generator to, like how you say, is just to ease up the situations. I believe that we can buy the generators and even bigger ones and do what we're supposed to do, not for only now, but for in the future as well.
Okay, thank you. I want to go back to Peter Giddings from the Now Party. Peter, I'm surprised that you did not mention this waste to energy proposal that your party leader has been touting for a while now.
I was simply waiting on you to get back to me. And before, and
Are you in
before I
support of
even,
that?
very much so, and but before I even drop into that, because we're talking about faith in politics, my slogan is for such a time as this, and I believe that I've been prepared for such a time like this. I've been, how you say, I've been tutored. I've been,
Okay, Peter,
taught.
if I can just interject there, we're coming there, we're getting there, right? But
Yeah,
today we're just starting off with the hot topic or the
hot
most,
topic.
if it's not hot, a very concerning topic. And because we would have just had a GB trauma, that's why we zeroed in on GB. So
On
if
the
you can
GB.
speak,
So
if you
I'm gonna
can
tell.
speak to
Okay,
the point of waste to
to the
energy,
point. No,
and then
no
we'll go back
problem.
to the
We're gonna
convictions.
to that. Good. So I would say this: the Now Party has been the only party so far that has been talking solutions to the GEB problem. All right, and our solution is simple: it's waste to energy. This is something that was presented to government in the past, and the governments in the past have wiped it completely off the table. Now imagine, all right, we spent 1.7 million for container generators to bring us 10 megawatts. We're missing about 14 megawatts in change, all right, 14 to 15 megawatts. The midterm solution from government, from the prime minister, was a 20 megawatt generator, a lease to own situation for 1.9 million, if I'm not mistaken. The long-term goal is 3 gensets for 60 million, something that we are going to be paying for the next 20, 30 years. Our children are going to be paying for it. And we as the Now Party are saying there is a solution, and that solution is waste to energy. The plans are there. The company was already vetted. Everything was there. The MOU was signed. This company was willing to come and set up the plant within 3 years and still willing to do it. but may I add, and this plant by itself would have generated, if I'm not mistaken, about 9.3 megawatts from waste to energy. And we had a choice. The plant could have come in and just processed this dump that we have, because the dump, my location, the dump is right outside my window this way. It could have processed the dump and said, okay, guys, we're going to process all the garbage and we're going to charge you, I think it's about 20 cents per kilowatt. Or we can handle dealing with the garbage dump itself, just not just your waste, but we can, how you say, bring the level of the dump down and process it, and we pay a couple cents more. All of this would have gone into, I would say, substituting what we're trying to get away from. And the vision is we're trying to get away from heavy fuels. We're trying to get away from those contracts that tie us down for 30 plus years, delivering the same fuel clause, because we're tied to salt and the diesel that the generators requires and the lubricants that the generators require. So we're saying waste to energy is the solution. The benefit of it is we not only get electricity from our garbage, but that thing that we call the dump out there that's sitting down in the heart of our capital in our own lifetime, we can minimize that dump, get rid of it totally, so that our grandchildren, their kids, don't even remember that there was a dump in the middle of Phillipsburg, a dump that, I may add, we believe is causing sickness, health issues. You know, today, this morning, right before I have my eye drops right here, because I would sit in the government building and it's the air that's coming in from the dump sitting in the government building, my eyes would just swell up, you know. And we know there's the carcinogens that are out there killing people, literally killing us, coming from this dump. Just because we don't see the smoke doesn't mean that the air quality is good. And that's a great concern. So there are benefits to this whole entire process. We're saying as the No Party, waste to energy is the solution. On top of that, just before I give it back over to the next person, this same company was also willing to put a solar farm in place, producing an extra 5 to 7 megawatts. Again, electricity loss would have been a thing in the past if we had done this 7 years ago. If when this was on the table, that plant would have been up, we would have had electricity coming from variable sources, and we would have been steering St. Maarten to become one of the greenest islands in this region, putting us back in that position where we used to be on top of everything. St. Maarten was #1. We were the leader in the Caribbean, you know, and that is the direction that the No Party would love to see St. Maarten.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Gittins. I want to throw to Mr. Richardson now, because based on what you would have said, we understand that waste to energy will remain on the manifesto of the Now Party. But you began your remarks by saying you have this proposal on the table all of the time and it's not being picked up by consecutive governments. Now the Now Party is a part of a coalition, so-called 2x4 coalition, that includes the Democratic Party, the URSM, and the PFP. Mr. Richardson, I want to ask you that. Was this really a marriage that was ordained by God, with everything that we are seeing happening in St. Maarten right now, that has taken us to also the place of going to snap elections on August 19? Is this coalition working? And if it is working, why didn't the coalition pick up on this plan to go in the direction of waste to energy with its coalition partner?
I want to set a few things in line here, because first of all, the topic of this program here, all of us are supposed to be men of faith, men of God, men of integrity. And when I speak of integrity, for sure, being someone of integrity standings, good governance come to play. Because I know about the waste energy, you know, back 2 decades ago, you know, so I know the subject matter professionally. But one of the things that I heard from the Now Party that very much concerned me is good governance, because, you know, while everybody can come with their ideas, ideas of with a company, an individual company who can do waste to energy. I can bring you 5 or 6 companies around the world who can do the same thing, and then it borders on tampering with good governance, which government is supposed to adhere to, and then it tampers also with the whole tendering process of setting up a terms of reference as to what are we what do we want to establish? What do we want to put in place as far as this waste to energy is concerned? How many companies out there can present to the government of St. Martin a favorable solution? What is it going to cost us? Can we get another company that can give us a better price? These are all things that go through a process, and it's just not, you know. And I applaud the No Party for the idea of coming with a company that they probably have been in communication with to bring the solution. It could be the solution, but is it in line with proper governance? We have a responsibility to the people of St. Martin, not just as political parties, but in this case as a coalition government. You're saying a coalition government with coalition partners. And of course, everyone can bring a proposal, but it has to be all vetted. That's go through proper procedures. You know, we have to know exactly what are we getting, what do we want. A whole process has to be put in place, terms of reference as to what do we want. And then when we establish the terms of reference, we can put it out there to a bidding process to see which company out there in the world can give us the best solution for St. Martin. Waste to energy is nothing new for me. Everyone speaks about it, but for me personally, I'll tell you this: I am about the solutions at this particular point in time, because we can keep blaming this, and I can imagine where some of the the other speakers will want to go, and but I am not about going back into what happened 5 years or 10 years or 6 years or 7 years. I am about what the problems that the people of St. Martin are facing with today, and how can we solve them today for them right at this particular point in time. If we have to come together as political parties and join forces to bring the solution about for the people and not competing politically, because we're in a political campaign, so you're going to get all of that. But I am very concerned that coming with a company, we have a company that can do all of this. It's concerning to me, because I can bring you a proposal with a company, and then you ask yourself, where is this going to take us with regards to good governance and how we have to go about these things, and then knowing how the procedures are within government. This is not your own private
Mr.
company.
Richardson, you mentioned something. I wanna
Yes.
ask you. You said it is not about what could have been done in the past, but what do we do now?
Yes.
What is your plan or your party's plan if elected back in government? What is your plan for the GB situation? What can be done now?
The whole waste energy and all of that is something that the Democratic Party itself has had on the table for quite some time. And I'll tell you this, Apostle Valerie, being in government for quite some times, in advisory capacities and all of that, what you do have all the time is that government keep changing, and then everybody comes with their own ideas. They drop one project from the previous government and they come on another project. So the waste of the energy and all of these different things that are being proposed are plans that are on the table. There are enough plans on the table, but the point in case is that at times we get, us as politicians, we do not have all of the answers in terms of it professionally. So a lot of times we find ourselves getting into conversations about technical details that we should not be, because we are vying to be representatives of people of St. Martin. Do we have all of the solutions ourselves professionally? We do not have. So there is where once elected into office, we bring the technical people, we bring the professionals to the table and let them explain in details how we have to. And they are there to give us all the information. So the Democratic Party, we want to have our professionals being part of the discussions to bring this matter to a resolve, whether it's waste to energy or the fuel clause and all of that. These are things that are being discussed. But I think that instead of getting into a debate here between politicians from political parties as to what is better, what is worse, what is that, it's not going to bring a solution. Trust me. It's just for me, to be honest, a waste of time. Let us get the professionals on the table, because we all agree, all parties agree to whatever the solution can be, but let us go to the next level, to Parliament, where we establish what the solution is going to be, what the terms of reference will be based on the advices we get from the professionals in the field, and then we then take a decision on the process going forward. That is our responsibility as legislators in Parliament. And there is where we need to stick. And when we get the advice, we take the decisions on what the solution should be. And
Thank
there is
you.
where we need to keep it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richardson. I saw Mr. Gittens shaking his head in disagreement. However,
Of course.
because of time, we have to move on. I want to pose a question. What is, and that is for you, because for some reason, I don't know if it's the internet or maybe GB went on his end. Adamas has dropped out. Hopefully, he'll get back in. But the two of you that are here, I want to pose a question. How do your faith affect your political decisions, and based on what you are championing, how does your faith play with that? I'm going to ask Mr. Gittens of the Now to go first. I'm not hearing you, Mr. Gittens. Are you muted?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now. Yes.
Okay, great. My faith affects everything I do, whether it's politics, whether it's going to the barber shop, whether it's opening up a new business or running an existing business. My faith is at the center of everything I do. My belief in God and my commitment to Him says it all. And it will drive every decision that I make as a politician. And I just want to quickly touch very briefly on some things that Roberta said. And yes, we're discussing faith in politics. And if we're discussing faith in politics, we have to go in and talk about things like political legitimacy. And now, political legitimacy is something that I think should be at the forefront and setting the basis for all our discussions moving forward. All right. If we look at in the Wikipedia encyclopedia, that's the right and acceptance of an authority, or usually a governing law or regime, whereas authority denotes a specific position in an established government, and the term legitimacy denotes a system of government, wherein government denotes a sphere of influence. Now, if we're looking at legitimacy, we're basically checking the authenticity or lawfulness of something. All right. So if you come to the supermarket and you pay a $100 bill, the cashier takes up that $100 bill and they look at it and they squeeze it to check out, is this $100 bill real or not? And they're checking to see if it's authentic. And then we add the word political to that, and the same principles apply. We're checking to see if government is authentic. So when I hear, and this is one of the reasons why I was shaking my head, that my opponent goes and says he's looking at the last 5 years. Your party hasn't been in government for over 40 years. Your leader has hardly sat in opposition. So when directly being asked for a solution, we don't want to depend on the professionals. We know they're out there. We want to see a vision coming from the party. And I think in all fairness, if we're talking about our faith, we have to be very honest in saying that we should be putting people first. It is part of our faith. That is the mission that we're set out on as believers. So being a politician, you should be putting yourself last and literally putting the people first and holding up to that fact that, we're civil servants. We are here to serve. And that was the mission that Christ sent us on, to serve. It's not about making the money. It's not about having a big name for yourself. It's not about, being in opposition or being in government. It's giving the people the service that they deserve. And my faith drives that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gittens. Now to Mr. Richardson of the DP party.
I'm just smiling at everything that Mr. Gittens has just said a while ago, and it sounds very good. It is what, all of us would want to say, whether we are people of faith or what have you, but at the end of the day, does what we say when we represent our faith line up with how we live our lifestyle, being a role model to what we stand for in we talk about our faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and how we live on a daily basis, because we are here now talking as individuals who are vying to be, elected to the Parliament of St. Maarten as an individual parliamentarian, two things that matters here: how we function on the floor of Parliament in terms of our decisions as men and women of faith, and how it affects us, how the decision we will take individually when it comes to a vote. But what comes to also in play is with our faith is how we live, because we can speak about all of these great things. You can pull it up out of the dictionary, but our lifestyle out there is, are we role models to the people of St. Maarten in terms of how we live? Because we can speak it, but are we living it? And that is the question, because we can say all sorts of things, all of us as candidates, but at the end of the day, are we living what we say so eloquently? And that is the crux of the matter, and that is where the question marks come in as to, are we really who we are? St. Martin is a small island, so everybody knows everybody. So I think that I'm making my point very clear.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Richardson. I would like to ask both of you to answer very briefly in terms of this question. I know it's getting heated in here right now. We can tone it down a bit. I would want to ask, what is your campaign slogan, your personal campaign slogan? And then secondly, tell us something about you that we don't know, that is not in the public domain per se.
All right, I guess I'll go first. My campaign slogan is "For such a time as this." We know that the landscape changes. As believers, we know nothing remains the same, but we go through seasons. We go through changes. And I believe that I have been groomed. I believe that I have been prepared, not just spiritually, but also in terms of politics, the political sphere, and also the business sphere, for dealing with the matters that we have right now. I think that I can bring to the table the expertise, the knowledge, the know-how, the vision, to get St. Martin where it needs to go. And as my opponent was talking about, character and everything else, I'd just like to say nobody's perfect. I don't believe nobody is. As believers, we know we all have our ups and downs, and we're all prone to sin. But we have to continue to strive and to move forward. And I believed in lifting people up. One of the things that I've done as such is I started a radio station just about a year ago, called Faith FM, and it's not well known as yet. It's been on the air for approximately a year. Well, end of August will make it a year. It's Faith 98.1 FM. It was I would say, a mission, because it was not in me to start this radio station. It was given to me by God. And as such, the radio station is now online. It's faithfmonline.com on the online part, and 98.1 FM on your FM dial. And the story behind that, I just want to share very quickly. This was one of those situations where everybody told me, Peter, it's impossible to start a radio station. There are no more licenses. There's nothing out there. But I was determined to follow the mission given to me and to be able to put something positive into the airwaves. Let me put it that way. And long story short, everything fell right into place the way God had it planned. And so if you have a chance to check it out, check out Faith 98.1 FM. You will not be disappointed.
Thank you so much. Mr. Richardson, the question was posed.
For me, it's going to take a whole program to talk about all that. But, I'm going to just go back from my story, my personal story, which many people in Maarten know. In 2011, I was struck by a massive stroke that almost took my life. And it also transformed me into a person that became more so a person for the people, and who knows me, who have come into contact with me would know that my slogan on this campaign trail is I am for you. I am for you. And who are the you that I'm referring to? I'm referring to every individual that I would want to represent, every individual that I speak to
From Trinidad.
every individual that I'm
Thank you.
fighting for. I am for you. So no one is left out. In the last decade, I would say I have founded an integrity advancement movement foundation where I have established integrity as my platform. And that is and then from there on with my brother Jeffrey, and I would say give him the kudos for that, is that he got me involved into a program, a live stream program called Interact, where we have been for the past 5 years or so speaking to the people of St. Martin, bringing the I would say presenting the history of St. Martin, presenting the icons, presenting the pioneer families of St. Martin.
We seem to have lost Mr. Richardson. Um, Mr. Gittens, there was a comment on Facebook. I'm gonna ask the technicians to pull it up now. Yes, from Mr. Xavier. He was replying to a comment from Celia Reynolds. It says a lack of innovation, sticking with outdated systems because he put in quote, if it is not broke, don't fix it. But now it's broke and they are not prepared to fix it. What is your view on this statement? Do you agree or disagree? And has that been your experience with the government thus far?
I would agree with the statement. I would say it has been my experience with government thus far. It's like there's this commercial for a particular type of oven that comes on late in the night back in the day, and the guy used to say you just put in the food, you set it, and you forget it. And that is how government has been running for years. They have set something and they have forgotten, and they just let it run. It's not just GEBE; it's throughout the entire government system, and it's in Parliament that we have the ability and the chance to make the changes that we need to improve the society. In other words, to be able to go back to that oven and say, you know what, we ain't setting up for getting it. The first 10 minutes had to be at 200 degrees, and then the next 30 minutes had to be at 100 degrees. I'm seeing those difficulties happening all through government. I'll give you a good example. If we go to education, something that we have set and we have forgotten, but yet we're seeing the issues coming out of it today. For me, I would like to see changes in government, even to the level of the ministries and how the ministries are allocated. I would like to see an education ministry that not only focuses on primary education and secondary education, and hopefully we get tertiary education right, because that's still an issue and has not been completely fixed as yet, but education for its people on a whole, where we create smart people here in St. Martin, where we invest time. Now, our greatest resource here on the island, we don't have oil, we don't have diamonds, we don't have gold buried in the ground. We don't have any of these things. We don't have any major industries. What we have is the people of St. Martin. That is our greatest resource. And it is my aim to invest into that resource. So things like education and not having the right things put into place, not being able to educate our seniors, for instance. We come into a world of technology. When Rhode Island Bank, for instance, just said, you know what, we're trying to get cashless, but we still have our seniors, outside stand up in lines, and basically what happens is they don't trust the system. If our politicians of the past had invested in making sure that things came in gradually, allowing them to trust it, they wouldn't have to be standing up in line. They'll be able to use a device and get what they need today. So I do agree with the person in that, we have set a lot of things and forgotten them. And for such a time as this, as my slogan goes, now is the time that we need to make those changes, set out a new plan, present that vision, and move forward.
All right, Peter, we hear you. Before we get the others back into the room, because they may have gone out for some technical difficulty, before we get them back in, I'm hearing you're saying indeed you're agreeing with what the contributor on Facebook would have said. I want to ask, is the Now Party all bark and no bite, meaning highlighting all of the problems but not coming with serious solutions? For example, you just highlighted the situation with our seniors. what policy would you put in place, or even a legislation that you would champion on the floor of Parliament concerning this, and especially in light of the context of our financial institutions?
Well, one of the things that I would love to see for our seniors, and the seniors are very near and dear to my heart, is I would like to address the pensions of the seniors. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we are paying, or I would say the seniors are paying about 3 million a year, at that is being taxed in terms of pensions. Now, I don't think it's fair that someone who has worked so hard all the days of their life, trying to, relax, these are the golden years as we call it, and all of a sudden you're getting 500, 600 guilders, and on top of that, government is still going, I still want that chunk of change out of it. I think it should be, I think it should be tax-free. And again, we have to look at things holistically. And I'm bringing GB right back around into play. And I want folks to kind of zone in on this for just 1 second. How important things are, like, for instance, a fuel clause. Because if we eradicate, and if anybody looks at their GEBE bill, you take that fuel clause, you realize that that fuel clause is double, is what doubles your bill. So imagine as a senior having to deal with that little pension, that pension being taxed. If we removed that fuel clause and had that trickle effect throughout the economy, where prices could be lowered, where supermarkets could lower their prices, and then we take away, for instance, now the taxation on the pension, I think the life of that senior would be a little bit more easier. And I think that is what we are supposed to be doing as politicians, making people's lives easier.
Welcome back, Mr. Richardson. Thank you so much for that, Peter. Welcome back, sir.
Is you hear me?
Yes, we are certainly hearing
Great,
you.
great, great.
Mr. Adamus was also coming in, and then he went out again. Oh my,
I
we,
kind of
we
picked
really
up
hope that
something.
we'll be able to get as much contributions from all of you. But I want to
I kind
follow
of
up.
picked up something on the seniors. You talking about the seniors, right?
Yes, Peter was just sharing one of his solutions for the seniors. I want to move on. Mr. Richardson, you made mention of good governance earlier. And the textbook definition of good governance is that it means the processes and the institutions that we have in the country produce results that meet the needs of our society, that meet the needs of people, while making the best use of the resources at their disposal. We have some fundamental needs here in St. Martin, and we can see from not only GB, but even in terms of telecommunications, the needs are not being met by our government institutions and companies. St. Martin is 14 years old as an autonomous or constituent country in the kingdom. Do you believe that in this state we have become a failed state? Since we're not, if we are not practicing good governance in terms of meeting the needs of our people through the institutions that have been set in place?
I know I wouldn't say that we I wouldn't say we have failed. We are a very young country. For a matter of fact, we are now in the year 2024. We have become a country in 2010. That is 14 years ago. And if we're going to try to compare us with this, with for example, Aruba, who has been a country since 1986. That is about over about 30 years ago. And ourselves, where we are at right now, of the Netherlands, because a lot of times we are compared with the standard of the Netherlands, who have been there centuries. I would say no. We talked about political willingness in the beginning. A lot of it stemmed off, and because we can have a lot of discussions on all these topics, but it's all about the type of quality politician that you're going to elect to office. Because at the end of the day, 15 members of parliament individually are going to parliament. They are they are voting on motions, they're voting on legislations, they're voting on laws, and though that has to be presented to the parliament to execute on the executive level of the council of ministers. So if in that sequence of representation you do not have the right representation, all of these things that we're talking about here would never happen, because all of us, and I would say all the political parties, have the right ideas, they have the right vision, they have the right views, they have the right what platform, they have the right whatever. But the reality is, and I can tell you, working in government over the years, even in the island territory of St. Martin, on an executive level with the executive council, and now work on the level of the council of ministers, the reality is the political, you said the political world, but the reality is who we put into office and how they are executing their job. I sit in the office, for example, of the Minister of Finance, and I can tell you, our Minister of Finance, Honorable Marinka Gumps, she is a no-nonsense Minister of Finance, and she is not the type of Minister of Finance that is just going to just accept from the Council of Ministers XYZ if she sees that it's not feasible with an approved budget that we have. Because we talk about approved budget, we talk about budget neutral, we talk about making amendments to the budget so that we can facilitate and give to the services to the people of St. Martin in various areas. Because it is easy to say we're going to do all of this, but there is a procedure within government by law that we take the oath of office for to do and execute. And these are things that we have to put in the right perspective. Otherwise, it sounds like, everybody, we could just do what we want. We get into office, we can do it. It just does not work like that, because it is not proper procedures that we have to follow the proper procedures, of which is all lined up in our Constitution of St. Martin.
And that is a part of good governance as well. So if we're getting you clearly, Mr. Richardson, St. Martin is not a failed state, even if the institutions at this moment are not meeting the needs of the population.
It's not a failed state because our Constitution has not failed us. It is more the individual, or let's say whomever, on the level of representation. It is the person that sits in the seats that determines how we steer the ship, because the ship is sound, it's solid, it is structured. I have a constitution of St. Martin in front of me, and it's very clear. I read it all the time. Everything is very clear there. It's like a Bible. It's like a Bible. Peter J. will understand it because we read the Holy Bible as well. It is a guideline book that tells us how we have to go about things. But if we go in there and then we have an approved budget, let's say, that has been presented by the Minister of Finance to the Parliament of St. Martin, and then what you get is members of Parliament, let's say, influencing ministers to present, or let's say to financially execute things that are not in the approved budget. What you have a lot of time, and it happens with all the governments, so everybody could say what they want, is that you get situations where something is not approved in the budget, and then we want to accommodate the situation, and then we go and we meddle in an approved budget, and then what do? That is not in line with good governance. And then what we have to do, we have to backtrack and backpedal, and then make amendments to the budget to accommodate the changes that we probably, I would say, unlawfully made because the budget was not approved to do that. So it all has to do with the individuals that we put to office, and that is why it is important to look at the characteristics, look at the quality of the individual candidate that you are elected, that you are voting for. It doesn't matter whether it is from our Democratic Party or the No Party, whatever party. Look at the quality of the person, and even if the person does not have any political experience being in government or serving in government, look at the lifestyles that they live, and from that that can tell you exactly what type of representative they would be for you, the people of St. Martin. And that's how it goes, because we can keep going.
Mr. Richardson,
sorry.
are you saying that the person's lifestyle should determine even more than their qualification, their role in government?
Yeah, their lifestyle, because I would say their lifestyle, because their lifestyles and the principles of how they live will determine how they govern. I'm laughing because we have everybody have the background, they have the qualifications and all of us. But at the end of the day, are we going to do and represent the people in accordance with good government, but also to the needs of the people? Because if we know what the needs of the people are. I can use an example. The Democratic Party have been going into the districts, and every district that you go to, the needs of the people are different. And then when we look at that, we say, how can we accommodate them? Not by just talking and making great lip service and top of that. What do we do when we are elected to office? We go to approve our budget. In our budget, we say, hey, you know what? In Dutch Quarter and Coal Bay, we've met a situation like that. Can we look, Minister of Finance, Council of Ministers, and that I'm talking about the level of a parliamentarian. Parliamentarian can say, can we look at these areas and can we make amendments to our budget that we can accommodate our people of St. Maarten? And we have to do it the right way because they have elected us to office to do it the right way.
Let me interject for a moment, because what you're saying is what all of us have experienced in over every election time. The same thing happens. The politicians go to the neighborhoods, they go to the communities, they go to the ghettos, they go to everywhere. They get all the information, everybody say, and then afterwards nothing happened. What do you think is different this time? You mentioned the Democratic Party has been going to the neighborhoods. Are you saying that this time is going to be different?
Yeah, of course I can say that. I'm saying that, and of course I can stand by that because we have from 1 to 2023 a list of candidates who are competent, who are experienced, who have let's say background and let's say characteristics and that in areas that they're
hold
really
on. Wait a while. The question was, are you saying that this time around, if elected, that the result is going to be different?
When you say, but I want to back up on that question because I don't know what you're trying to say there, Apostle, because you say it is going to be different. What do you mean different? Because it was making it sound as if we did not do it right the times before that. Am I to understand clearly on that?
No, you mentioned we're gonna move on just now, but you mentioned that you guys have the Democratic Party specifically are going to the different neighborhoods. They are listening and what needs to be done. And you were making a point that says now that like for instance, you guys went to Dutch Quarter and now that you know the ills of the residents of Dutch Quarter, then you can make a change. What I'm saying was that is always the case with politics. Everybody goes everywhere. Everybody hears everybody concerned. Everybody promised to fix this. They go through all these different communities. They go out. They hear. It is not the first time. That was done in January. That was done last 4 years ago. Every election is the same thing. But we always see a situation where we come out after election. We go back to what seems to be normal, the norm, where everybody is neglected. What you brought up the situation that you guys are up there and this time is going to be different. I just want to know, is there any plans in place to facilitate a different response, a different action this time?
Let me just respond to that because you're asking the right questions. For example, this government that just came in, this URSM, DP, now PFP government has come in quite recently, a few months for a matter of fact, and we are functioning with a budget that was presented by the previous government, the up-and-in government that we have to execute. If there are areas where we would want to make changes, we would have to have our Minister of Finance or the Council of Ministers present it to Parliament for Parliament to make amendments. What has happened in the meantime is that we have been faced now with a snap election, and I answered that was something I was talking about last night. And so a lot of what we would need to make happen, we are putting that on the back burner because this is a demissionaire government, and we are awaiting when the next government is coming into place. We are dealing, Apostle, with a lot of changes in governments for the past 10 years, where you have governments lasting 1 year, 6 months, lasting a year and a half, and then new parties coming into office, and then with new priorities and stuff like that. It is all a confusion in the sense that everybody have their own priorities, and everybody makes changes to the budgets and all of that, and that is where the problem comes in. this Democratic Party, this new team under the leadership of Sarah Westcott Williams, this team that I have the confidence of as the president of the party as well, knowing what their, not only their background, knowing their characteristics, knowing what they've been achieving out there for you, the people of St. Maarten. I am very confident that once elected to office, and preferably we would want to get an outright majority, eight plus seats, so that we can govern alone, because we are used to governing alone, where we have been able to take St. Maarten out of the dark ages from where it was in the 60s and early 70s to where it is today. Everybody talked about this and talked about that, but the fact of the matter, the realities are here, and St. Maarten didn't get here just like that.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, candidate number 23 for the Democratic Party. Mr. Adamas, number 2 of the OMC, is back. He's been having some technical difficulties, and so in the to be fair, let's get him on the line. Mr. Adamas, how are you doing? We have some questions for you, sir.
Sure, you may go ahead, Apostle.
Okay, you want to go ahead? Okay, all right.
Yes. Can you first of all tell us something about you that may not be publicly known in St. Maarten?
Well, what can I say that is not publicly
Very
known?
briefly, sir, because we want to get as much from you as possible. Go ahead.
I believe everybody knows me. I've been here for the past 14 years. I've been doing rehabilitation for drug addicts and alcoholics here at Key to Freedom. I studied theology in the Seventh-day Adventist College, and this is what I'm basically doing at the moment.
You study theology, so if I'm getting you clearly, you're a pastor, or you're in the pastoral office?
No, I don't have no church, and I'll do rehabilitation for drug addicts and alcoholics.
Okay.
But that's my background.
That's your background. Thank you for sharing.
I did it in Aruba, Bonaire, and right here, 14 years now.
Wonderful. Question to you, Mr. Elvison. Based on your faith, you say you study theology, and I believe that you're a man of faith. What would your decisions be in Parliament if elected, and where it pertains to decisions that are contrary to the biblical standards?
No, once it's contrary to the biblical standard, I cannot go for it. I'm an opposition into everything that is against the will of God.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, I would want to follow up, Apostle, concerning this on this topic. Yes, because you have professed and confessed your faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. That's correct?
We are in the same boat.
Yes, we are in the same. Okay, you're a bit frozen on the screen, but I hear you saying that we are in the same boat. At that same token, I would want to ask you then, Mr. Adamas, your party leader has been openly confessing the practice and the belief in witchcraft. How does that align with your personal convictions in the Lord Jesus Christ, where your leader, who ultimately decides and guides the direction of the party, openly confesses practicing witchcraft?
I think we lost
Silence.
him again. I think we lost him again. I'm not too sure if it was the thing we lost him again. But let me jump back to Mr. Gittens.
Hopefully he can return, and then he'll be able to answer that for us.
Mr. Gittens, we have a question coming in from one of our online viewers, and I think it's a question that refers to let me see if I get the correct one. Yes, this one. It says, when the pension is no longer taxed, where is the deficit going to come from? How do these plans align with the actual financial situation of the country?
All right. Good question. I love it. One of the things that I'm campaigning on heavily is electoral reform. And part of that reform is something that I believe a lot of the existing parliamentarians won't like. And it's very straightforward. We are fast approaching, and this is where the vision comes in. We are fast approaching the situation where will be moving from 15 to 17 parliamentarians according to the Constitution. All right. Now, these parliamentarians, in my opinion, are being paid a little bit, not a little, a lot too much. So if that person would do a quick calculation with me, if we were to cut salaries, and we're just talking gross salaries, we're not even touching benefits and those kind of things, of the existing parliamentarians alone, by 40%, which is what I'm championing, which is what puts us kind of in line with where it's supposed to be, where the rest of the world really is. We'll be saving upwards of about $1.9 million a year if we do the calculations. So we have been, and I have been looking very heavily at all of the areas where we can, how you say, cover. So wherever I give a little bit more money, I'm able to save on this side. And this is something that I've been and practicing in the business world for a very long time as a businessman. We do not spend money we do not have. And it's one of the ill practices of government. You know, we do have budgets, yes. We're supposed to follow those budgets, yes. But we tend to go over budget in government, which happens all the time. And anybody in government will tell you that. And we tend to spend what we don't have, and what we do have, we tend to misspend or put it in the wrong places and act as though, you know, it's not really my money, so it's not a big deal. And these are the kind of little practices that I want to bring to the table for us to change and actually get this country back on track. So yes, we are looking at where the money is going, how we're going to cover the deficits. We do have those plans as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Gittins. We are seeing that Mr. Adamas is trying to get back on, and we're having, I think, it's internet issues on his side. But as soon as he's able to come back on, we will get to him. We want to ask some rapid answer questions, where we ask questions and we only require yes or no,
for or against,
or for or against responses. We are going to begin, and my colleague is going to take over.
All right. So in the order that you will be appearing on the ballot paper, we'll start with the DP first, which will be number 4. So, Mr. Richardson, just a for or against. All right. There's no need in this segment for the motivation. So we'll start first. Exactly. Yes, sir. I can see that you're not a novice to this, right? All right.
So just
our first question, yes. For or against, we would like to know, are you for the expansion of the rights of the LGBTQ plus community, as well as the protection of their fundamental human rights?
If I'm for it?
For or against? Yes. Are you for the expansion of those rights?
Against.
He said against.
Okay. The next question, as it relates to legalization of cannabis or marijuana for medicinal and recreational purposes. Are you for it or against it?
Against.
Against.
And the final question, as it relates to the introduction of a sin tax on alcohol and tobacco. Are you for or against?
Against.
So we can expect, if this legislation will come to Parliament, you will vote against if you should get in there.
Can I elucidate?
Not at this time. You have said against. I'm just confirming those 3 answers for our audience. Let's go over to the now party. Peter Gittins, the same 3 questions: expansion of rights for the gay community, protection of their fundamental freedoms. Are you for or against?
Against.
He said against.
Again, Mr. Gittins, that against song very low.
No, it's a very low. I said low.
Please.
As a matter of fact, when you started, if you were reading my lips, I said against 3 or 4 times.
Okay, we get you now. We get you now on the record, right? With a big
Yes.
against. All right, the next question, as was asked to your colleague, as it relates to the legalization of marijuana cannabis for recreational and medicinal use. Are you for or
4.
against?
4.
And finally, introduction of the sin tax on alcohol and tobacco
4.
products. You're for those. Is it via this sin tax that you think that you'd be able to get some more money for our
Oh
seniors apart
yes.
from cutting on the parliamentary
Oh,
salary?
yeah, definitely. And I think things like this also lead to producing a more healthier, more controlled environment for our communities as well. Persons get the choice to choose how they want to live. I'm not against anybody smoking a cigarette. I'm not against anybody having a beer, but now it puts it in.
Moderators, can I make an objection?
In a while, Mr. Richardson, just now, just
Because
let
because
Mr.
we
Gittins.
say phone against, but now you're giving the other party the opportunity to elucidate and
No,
explain why
because
he's
no,
for, why
because
he's
no,
against.
Mr. Richardson, the host asked him a follow-up question, and now he's explaining. She asked him, is that a point where he would get monies to do what he was talking about before? So that is why we are allowing him to answer the question. Go ahead, Mr. Gittins.
Yes, as I was saying, yes, most definitely. I'll leave it at that because we were interrupted. But yes, most definitely, that's one of the ways that we'll be able to generate some more funds. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for that. All right, in the spirit of harmony in the discussion, let's go back and I will ask Mr. Richardson just to give your motivation for why you will be against the expansion of the rights of the LGBTQ community.
First of all, my faith and my relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ doesn't even have me I don't even have that in my platform of discussion. So on the floor of this has nothing to do with my love for all people and their rights to live the type of lifestyles that they want to live. There's nothing that you can do about that. And so I'm saying that in Parliament, if anything like that comes up, I would vote on against. But coming back to the other points that Mr. Gittins responded to on the other areas, to the realities of St. Maarten and how we have become where we are economically plays a huge role in just answering phone against. And when you elucidate, you're able to give explanations to why this or not or why that not. I'll use a simple example. We are one half Dutch and one half French in one island. No other country has that. So in terms of making decisions on taxations or what have you, we have to take into consideration what is happening in the French and Martin. We see all the time with anything that happens, we run, or consumers run to the French side or they run to the Dutch side whenever the price is right, so to speak. And so taking all of those realities in concern, it makes a for and against question very difficult to answer. And that is why the elucidation on these matters are very important. I just wanted to say that for the record, because when the elucidation comes in, you would realize that the for or against comes with an explanation that would make it make sense. Because it can be that you can be for or you can be against, but if the proposal that is brought to the table makes sense for you to not be against but to be for, you would vote for. And that's what I was trying to make mention of in this particular situation.
Okay, thank you so
But
much
when it
for.
comes to my faith, there's no elucidation. There's for or against. That's it.
Okay, so we come back to where we originally started then. You have said 3 against to those 3 questions or proposals that were put on the table. And if it were brought to Parliament, you would vote according to your conscience, or it would be based on the context, so your decision might change.
It will be based on the context, but the areas where it affects my faith, then I would stand by my faith and vote whether it is for or against.
Okay, in this political arena, you're not a novice, Mr. Richardson. What I would want to ask you, have you ever had an opportunity where there was a crisis of faith where you had to choose between your personal conviction and your political career? Give us an example of that, if that has ever happened to you.
You know, it could definitely have never happened for me because I have never. This is just my second time I've run for office. I have always supported candidates who have ran for office, and so I never had the opportunity on the floor of Parliament or even back in the days on the floor of an island council to take the decision as far as that is concerned. But I want to just say this: I was once the executive assistant to the minister, to the commissioner of culture, and in that capacity, I was one who initiated. And those of you who could go back that far will know that I was the one that initiated in his office um, the day of prayer, the first Sunday in January. So that's first Sunday in January, and the apostle would know that in January that we celebrate a national day of prayer was one of the initiatives that I presented through my commissioner to the executive council, the Democratic Party executive council, that it was approved unanimously that every first Sunday in the new year we have a national day of prayer. Another thing that I want to make very clear, and I don't want to leave here without saying that our constitution in its preamble, and this is why we have to realize that you know talk is one aspect, but we live in a constitution. We have a constitution that's been approved since 10 10 10. And if you go on the first page of the Constitution of St. Martin, it states that we, the people of St. Martin, affirm that we acknowledge the guiding principles of Almighty God as the core of our values. So in reading that, what I want to just make clear to and I'm not talking, I'm putting from the perspective of the rights of everyone, the individual rights. I'm talking from the perspective of voting on something, whether by way of a referendum or on the floor of parliament, that anything that we would want to change, if we tamper with that Constitution of St. Martin in the preamble that I just read there, the majority of parliament would have to come to the floor of parliament with a new proposal, whether to amend the preamble in its introduction, or to eliminate that sentence completely. Are the members of parliament prepared to go to parliament to amend the introduction and the preamble in the Constitution of St. Martin? Are they prepared to do that? And that is where it's going to be like how they say, put your money where your mouth is. Other than that, we have a constitution, an approved constitution with articles, and then those articles are very clear. We can make amendments. The parliament does that. And for me, when it comes to the floor of parliament, to adjust or eliminate that preamble, then we will see who is for and who is against. And that is how the elected members of parliament will be tested as to their faith, or if their faith is strong or not, or whatever they stand by. But I just read it and it's very clear.
Indeed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richardson. I have a question. According to the UNICEF Situation Analysis report published in 2020, 30% of the young people have had suicidal thoughts and 13% attempted suicide. What are you prepared to do as a political leader, to tackle this situation on St. Martin? I will ask Mr. Gittins first.
Okay, could you just repeat that question for me? You're kind of breaking up on my end.
Okay, can you hear me? You can hear me properly?
I can hear it's breaking up, but go ahead.
Okay. Can I answer that?
Just now, Mr. Richardson, just now. According to the UNICEF Situation Analysis report published in 2020, that was 4 years ago, 30% of young people have had suicidal thoughts and 13% attempted suicide. what are you prepared to do as a political leader to tackle this issue here in St. Martin? Because we have that issue in St. Martin.
All right. I will answer this question very simply. This month actually will, in a few days, will be marking 1 year since I lost my godson, who committed suicide a year ago. So this topic is something that is extremely dear to me, very close to me, something that I myself have had in my mind and have had some personal struggles with comprehending and dealing with as well. Um, One of the things that I would really like to see is the availability, and there's several things, but first of all, the availability of more counselors and a more open dialogue um, that allows students to come forward and speak out, children in general in the schools to come forward and speak their mind, what has troubled them, without fear of shaming or anything of the sort. And this starts within the community. This starts with how we deal with our kids at home. This starts with the standards that we set at home so that when they reach the schools, the educators and the counselors alike can continue pushing those same standards. I believe that as government, we should do everything possible to mitigate situations such as this. So we're talking the expansion of how we say the amount of counselors and that care team aspect in the schools. We're talking clamping down on bullying in any format, in any form. That's something on the justice side and then on the education side as well. If we look at VSR on the health side, we're talking about expanding what is currently available to the public in general in terms of health. We know that we're a very large population. We're expanding, but once again, that set it and forget it mentality that we spoke about in the beginning continues to rear its ugly head because we are losing the professionals that we have. There's a limited amount of professionals that we have for the entire community in terms of psychologists that are allowed to operate under the SFV umbrella for folks who cannot afford it to seek help, and this in itself needs to be expanded so that we have enough professionals available to assist to mitigate, persons going through thoughts such as this. And, I you're giving me these numbers, 30% and 13%. St. Martin is someplace that I really believe we really don't run on enough data. Because when I speak to the professionals over at APA, the Association for Psychologists, they are telling me based on their numbers, based on the amount of clients that they have to see, that the potential for this is way higher than these actual numbers that you're giving me right now. So I'm saying there needs to be a comprehensive plan across government, across the ministries, so that we can, get our kids back to where they need to be. And I'll end by saying this, and Mr. Roberto Richardson said it, our Constitution clearly states that we are here and we at our core believe in God. And there needs to be, that needs to be reflected in all that we say and in all that we do. And I would really love to see God back in the schools the way it used to be. I would really like to see God back in our communities the way it used to be. And this is something that I blame a lot of the churches for. I blame a lot of parents for. I don't even blame government for this, as a matter of fact, because we as individuals, we also have responsibilities. Government can't fix everything. We also have responsibilities to ourselves, to our community, to our families, to our own kids. And we also have to step up and make sure that things like bullying don't happen. Just going back quickly to your yes or no, for or against question, where on LGBT very fast, just doubling back. I am against the expansion, but I am definitely for the protection of the basic rights. These are basic rights that belong to all of us, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter your gender, no matter your nationality. So again, these are things that we as a community need to work on. Growing up, the same manners don't cost a thing. You could be rich, you could be poor, but manners don't cost nothing. Respect don't cost anything. And as a politician, and before I even say politician, as a community leader, I give you a good example. There was a fire in Dutch Quarter 2 nights ago. At the heart of it, and I'm saying this openly today because I tend not to pat myself on the back. I tend not to, I'm not a person that does things and take the pictures and put out there, I'm not that kind of politician. But at the height of it all, when the fire was blazing, 3 cars on fire, the police on both ends, I was in the middle next to the Chinese supermarket with the boys who were attempting to burn all of these things down, reasoning with them, asking them why. Why are we doing this? What is it you want? Because as leaders, we should be able to go into the communities and speak to everybody, no matter who they are, and not create classes, And there I was, and here I'm getting back from them all of their issues. One of the main ones involved, I remember him, he went to Ruby Labego. He was a valedictorian, very intelligent kid. I'm like, dude, why are you doing this? But because of my approach, because of the way I dealt with him, we were able to kind of bring the whole situation back down to a more level situation. I saw other politicians out there trying to take the pictures and do the most. But at the end of the day, as leaders, we need to be able to guide our communities. And these children need a lot of guidance. They need love. They need that proper attention. And we have to be willing to give it to them. Again,
thank you so much for speaking to that issue, Mr. Gittins. We have Mr. Adamas back. Sir, if you can respond to the initial question, how does the fate of your party leader and the direction that the party goes in aligns with your personal convictions in the Lord Jesus Christ? Because we have heard a lot of rhetoric espousing the practice of witchcraft.
Okay, that subject is an assumption. Because not because I light a candle in my house means I practice witchcraft. Secondly, he using the bell, which attracted most people. But I can tell you that both he and his wife that was murdered believed in God, not as deep as we do, because we know God. We know who God is. We don't only know about God. So they are in the world as a believer, but without any practices of witchcraft. You understand? And my job is to disciple people. My job is to win soul for Christ. And if I stay in the Christian community, within the 4 walls, I will never win a soul for God. I hope I answer your question.
I would like to follow up on I would like to follow up on that, Mr. Adamas. You're hearing us clearly? All right.
Yes.
Indeed, we one of the principles for organizing this program is that we were not after the religious, we were after the righteous, and so that's why we're giving the opportunity for everyone to be able to share their heart, and then the voters can discern. But back to the question in terms of the follow up, we hear what you're saying. There has been rhetoric, there have been statements made even online about traveling to various countries and continents and being given some kind of spiritual reinforcement and then returning to the island with that spiritual reinforcement. Would you not constitute that to be a part of witchcraft, enforcing or trying to manipulate the will of others? And are you then saying that all of this is just a campaign gimmick or public relations?
Look, what I can tell you is what I know. Okay? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who believe in high power and all kind of things, but at the end, it's God they mean. They call it so many different names and all kind of things. They giving God so many titles and so many names. If you say God, they tell you it's not good. You have to say Jehovah. Some will say that's not good. You can't say Jesus. It have to be Joshua. They bring all kind of new terms now that are, I will say, not biblical, but to them, it is the roots, and they discuss all these things. I don't go into those details of titles and names that they give in God. What I do is I analyze who they mean when they say what they say.
Okay. Why are you running on the OMC slate? What attracted you to that party and its ideology?
Okay, to tell you the truth, uh, I am tired of being hostage to a system that has been created from our government. This chicken leg and Johnny cake every 4 years, eating crumbs. I'm tired of it. I believe that we are children of God, and we deserve to sit at the table, like my people said. Our walls have fallen down, and no politician realize that. Our walls of economy, our walls of education, our walls for our tourism, it has all fallen down. And anything and anybody can come and do what they want in our country. It's a complete disaster. And I'm don't want to point finger, but if you've been there for 20 years, 18 years, 16 years, 8 years, even 4 years, and you haven't done nothing about it, then I cannot go vote for you again. I believe that we need to sit down and look at the problems and see exactly what need to be done and do it. I sent out one video appealing for us to bring back God into our schools, because since God has been taken out of our schools, there is no more prayer in the school. Religion is not a subject anymore in our schools. We've been creating monsters, and now they're wondering why so much shooting, why so much crime, why so much this, why so much that. We are to blame for. We are those that have to be blamed for that. Why? Because our government haven't done anything. I don't see the schools that they have built. I don't see the budget for our education. The children are just growing up. Children fall out of school, and what happened next? At 11 years, a child being dropped out of school, and then when the child is 15, 16 years, the child have a girlfriend. He want a scooter. Where you gonna get the money from? He don't have a certificate. He will go on the block, like how we call it. On the block, he can generate the money to buy the iPhone for his girlfriend and everything. And who's responsible? We creating monsters every day in our community. And then when things happen, yes?
So are you saying that the OMC and OMC-led government would champion religious education in the public schools as well? Because we do have foundation-based education here in St. Martin.
Of course we will.
So is this the
That's why
party's
I'm here
approach?
for.
This will be the party's approach for the public schools?
Of course. That's why I'm standing here for. I'm doing rehabilitation. But if I keep doing rehabilitation, I can do rehabilitation for another 20 years. And unless we bring prevention, nothing is going to change. If we keep doing the same things we always did before, we will always keep getting the same results we had before. Simple as that.
Mr. Adamas, I do not want it to look like we are coming after your party or your leader. This is not what the program is all about, right?
No, not at all.
However, because you are having some technical difficulties, we're trying to get the most out of you now that you are on, okay? And
yeah, sure. Feel free. I'm feeling free in this community, in this video, because I know it's based on Christ as the foundation.
Awesome. I have a question from one of our viewers online, and they ask, our youngsters are looking at our leaders, and your party leader is out there cursing, threatening persons. Is that the example we want for our youngsters? What are your views on that?
I will contradict that completely. I will say in the beginning, the videos our leader used to bring out, he used to use some bad words, if I call it so. Old people will say Say meaning better language, but I won't say that. But he used to do it, and we sit down, we talk, and if you look at the video that came after, nobody can say that he using absent language. And the other one of threatening, I will say that person who asked that question should check the news better, because he been exposing corruption, he been exposing everything, and his life was threatened. They even kill his wife, shoot another candidate of our party. He have a bullet still that he can't take out as yet, and his daughter was there that almost get murdered as well.
Okay,
Are you
Mr.
there?
Adamas. Yes, we are there.
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes. We are all aware of the unfortunate shooting incident of Mr. Arundel and the death of his wife, his beloved wife, Sabine. What has that done for the party? Has that gotten the party more resolved, more resilient, or has it affected? How do you think it has affected the party? First of all, we are not condoning any violence. We are against it, totally against it, and our hearts goes out to Mr. Olivier and his entire family. But how has that affected the party and your person?
Well, it really, really break our moral, our passion, because she was a brainser, and she was a very, very energetic person, and also very passionate, supporting each and every candidate. And we were never expecting that it would have reached so far, that if you speak out or anything like that, that it would have reached so far that you can even take life of an innocent person. And we spent time mourning and analyzing and asking questions and putting the puzzles together to see exactly the why. Because there are so many questions in this life that we don't get an answer for, and that's one of them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adamas. Any questions?
I just would really want to have it on the record that we really empathize with you concerning this tragedy here in St. Maarten. It has never been seen or heard of before, especially in a season such as this. We know that we're still waiting for the authorities to give us the final report, the outcome of the investigation, and so forth, as to the real motivation of this murder, if we should ever get to the truth of that matter. But I would want to move on to Mr. Richardson.
Okay. What I was going to say is connection with what you're saying. I mean, in 48 hours, they caught the person that did the shooting. And really, I'm not a detective. I'm not a specialist in that. But really, I believe it has been taken a long time now. And they didn't even put in the papers who the person was, neither what really incited him to do it, how it went, because there's a lot of rumors he was paid and this and that. I don't want to go into that detail now because it's not part of the program. But what I do believe that they should at least put in the papers the name of the person or a picture or something, because they arrested the person 48 hours after that. And
So you're saying
a lot
that
of
this
people.
case has been solved?
I think he's frozen again.
We may have lost Mr. Adamas, but that's a revelation here on Faith in Politics. I don't know, for many of us, that might be the first time we're hearing that. So we heard it first on Faith in Politics, that according to the number 2 candidate of the Waluchi Movement for Change, Apparently, the authorities solved this murder already.
Well, at least one is in custody.
At least one is in custody. Let's see where this goes. Mr. Richardson, I would want to follow up with you in terms of the overall climate in St. Martin, political climate, mental, emotional state of the people in the nation at this time. Are you concerned? Do we have?
Yes. I missed a part of it. Am I back? Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Did you hear the question, sir? Are you concerned with
Am
the
I back?
overall?
I'm not hearing you guys.
Are you concerned with the overall political climate in the nation at this time, as well as the vulnerability of our people, their emotional well-being? Okay, while we work on getting Mr. Richardson, Peter Gates,
Am I
perhaps you
back?
can answer that.
Guys, am I back?
Can you hear us?
That video.
Go ahead.
Am I back? Oh, am I getting any response?
Can you hear us, Mr. Richardson?
No.
You're not hearing anything. Are you there? Can you hear us?
I'm not hearing anything.
Okay, well, let's go to Mr. Gittins.
Okay, guys, as far as that question, I do believe that the political climate overall is pretty much what we're accustomed to here in St. Martin. I do not believe that we have reached a point where, where some countries where, persons need to run and hide. They can't come out and vote freely. They can't put on a shirt. They can't represent a color. They can't represent a politician. We are not at that point, thank God, even though some of the politicians out there currently are trying to set that stage or make it sound as though we're at that point. And I think we have to challenge that narrative and beat it down very quickly. In terms of the voters, though, I can tell you that a lot of them are, for lack of a better word, they lack the trust. They're upset. This going back to the polls constantly is not something that they want. And I think we, as the leaders of this country, should be setting a better example and doing things differently to avoid putting the voting population through what I would call unnecessary headache, unnecessary harassment that further causes them to lose trust in not just us as politicians, but in the system as well, and in St. Martin overall. So in terms of the climate, I do think we have a very normal climate. I do believe that we have certain pockets of crime in certain areas. Okay, Dutch Quarter was not political. There was a little pocket with a certain group of individuals that had to be dealt with. The passing of the wife of the leader of the OMC, again, being investigated. There's nothing that says that it was politically motivated. I would hate to think that our authorities, and we know that they have an individual 2 days after, have been sitting down and know that it was politically motivated and have not acted to bring those persons in and have not warned, other politicians and other persons out there that their lives might be in danger. I think everybody is just playing up and trying to play on the emotions of the voting public. As for Peter Gittins, I firmly stand on the fact that we are not in any distress in terms of our political climate. I still feel confident that I can walk anywhere, Dutch or French side of St. Martin. I still feel confident that I can take my family anywhere at any time without feeling, threatened or without feeling that something is going to happen.
Thank you so much for that response. Mr. Richardson, are you hearing us clearly?
Doesn't look that way.
Mr. Richardson, can you hear us? Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richardson, can you hear us?
All right, we may have lost him.
I think
his attention is elsewhere.
Can you hear us, Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richardson, can you hear us?
Okay, we'll have to move on then, Apostle.
Yes.
We move on with our final question to close off today's session of Faith in Politics, which is as it relates to the electorate. You were saying that they're not under any
You all
kind
hearing
of
me?
distress. Would you say that there
Are
is
you
any
hearing my
kind of
voice?
voter apathy at this time, Mr. Gittins? Are people tired of having to go back to the polls, having to go through the whole campaign season? Will we get the voter turnout that we're looking for? It's 22,747 in the electorate for the snap elections on August 19. Are people experiencing political fatigue?
And for that, we do have the data. This is one of the cases where we do have the numbers, and I do not expect those numbers to change at all. St. Martin is a very special place. It's a real place. Some people say it's not real. It's a very real place. It's a special place, and our people are something else. Yes, I am hearing the complaints. I am hearing, persons that are upset. We're tired of going back to the polls. We're tired. I had enough of it. I'm hearing as we walk around. I'm not voting. I don't even want to see my voting card. And guess what? We have been experiencing the same turnout, more or less, just above the around the 50-51% mark on average every single election. And I don't expect that this will be any different. At the end of the day, the folks here in St. Martin that can vote will turn out and vote if they have been voting all along. I don't think I think I might have lost my host. Oh yes, it definitely looks as though we lost
Any
the host.
predictions? Any predictions, Peter? As we come to that date on August 19, you have said yes, you believe people will turn out as they normally do at the rate that they usually do. Any predictions in terms of results?
I expect to see a change in persons in Parliament, and that's because one, folks are waking up and seriously addressing behind the scenes. I'm seeing it in certain areas, things like vote buying. I see that the public prosecutor has been acting very hard to also do their part to kind of prevent it. So they have been, making those arrests, picking up players, putting players that are actively involved in vote buying in cells so that they can go out and do the norm that they normally would do. So I do believe that at the end of the day, there will be a shift in the persons in Parliament. In terms of the seats, I do believe there'll be a slight change as well, because there are persons that are waking up and realizing, we're tired of the same old rhetoric, and they're going to be moving away from a lot of those older parties who have been there, who are proclaiming stability for 4 years but really haven't done anything. So I expect to see slight changes, yes. But overall, and if we're being very honest with ourselves as a people, if we're being honest with ourselves as believers, the current climate, the current situation where it comes to political parties is a direct reflection of the population. It's the reason why we can have a 2x4 government. There's no longer any big party. Those claiming to be big parties. The highest seat getter was the National Alliance with 4 seats, and one of those was a Recycle seat. Then the UP came in with 3 seats. One of those was a Recycle seats, and then we had the 2x4, which was all 2, all Recycle seats along the lines as well. So there's no big party, and it's one of the reasons why I'm very glad that I've joined the Now Party now, that I am able to help craft the party so that we can get to a position, a point where people have trust in political parties, trust again in the political and in the politicians, knowing that what they say is what they deliver. And that's what we're all about. So I expect slight changes, yes, but I don't expect any drastic change. What is going to be very important for us is that those persons elected need to come in and really truly realize that in our positions as parliamentarians, that we really need to put the people of St. Martin first. We need to love the people of St. Martin first. I'll dare say it, as believers in this room, in this setting, we need to love and have persons that are loving St. Martin population the way Jesus loves us. you know, putting yourself last and literally willing to take the blows, willingly willing to take the sacrifices that come with the job. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's not about making a big name and the ego. That there are people out there that are really hurting, and we really need to put ourselves down in the trenches, not in parliament, just in that seat, but down in the trenches with our people, start to feel the pain that they're feeling, and don't sleep until we get it right. Because that's what it's really about. If somebody out there is hurting, it can't be that you, as a parliamentarian, go there and surface and help them out one time and then go back to sleep and snore at night and feel everything is okay. No, it's not. As long as one person is out there feeling that pain, I think as politicians we're supposed to feel it as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gittens. I want to bring back Mr. Roberto
Yeah.
Richardson, Akin Roberto Richardson.
Am I
I
back
think,
on? You guys hearing me?
yes, we can hear you now. We are back on. Thank you so much for your patience. And question to you from one of our viewers online. They say the fact that there are so many parties show show the division which will reflect in our governing. Do you agree with this statement?
You know, there's division in our governing. I don't want to, I cannot say that I totally agree. I more see playing here in that with the ship jumping and all of that, uh, uh, individual ideologies, individuals having their own, how should I say, wanting to see their own things met. They
Agenda.
want to achieve their own personal gains and stuff like that. You see where people jump and they shift from party to party because or the electoral system allows it. And there's where you are getting these various political parties. Someone the other day said that most of these parties come from, and if you look at it, they either come from the Democratic Party or they come from the National Alliance. And then for whatever reason they jump ship and they create their own party because this is where team is taken out of the equation. And because it has become such an individuals set up, people go and they start their own party the minute they cannot agree with their party philosophies or what have you. And because the system allows that, they do that. But and that is unfortunate, and that is why the electoral law needs to change where a proposal needs to come to parliament where someone who gets elected to parliament, and that was a proposal that I personally was thinking about, someone being elected to parliament, whether it is by preferential votes, and they call that 1% of the amount of votes cast, 1%. And that's, I'm going to use an example. It can mean that if that 1% would make it be 900 votes, 1% is 900. That, or half of the 1% would be 450 votes, and anyone falling after that would not be self-elected. So the self-elected person may be a start, so that if they want to become independent for whatever reason they can, but not that you get someone on the sequence of the list having 100 votes or 75 votes, but they fall third in line with the amount of seats that the party has acquired, and they just take those seats into an independent situation on the level of parliament. But you see, again, all of these things are things that Parliament needs to step into. Members of Parliament need to step into Parliament and take decisions on, and not that post haste. I am one that would right away on day one, as a member of Parliament, go and tackle these situations that we keep talking about all the time right away up front, not waiting until election year where it's convenient not to vote against it because politically it doesn't work for you, and that is where the problem keeps coming up. Another thing that was said earlier, and I think it was on the whole situation with the children, and so when they mental issues and stuff like that. I talked about presenting to government, where government with the community sector, the community council, and the churches and all that can put together a task force that can tackle these situations, where the churches can get involved in the challenges that the young people specifically are dealing with, because the churches, why we say we don't have enough social workers and all of that, the churches, a pastor is like a social worker. We have so many churches on St. Martin, and they can do their part as well if they come together with government and able to tackle this situation in the classrooms as well as in the homes. We have a MHF, Mental Health Foundation, that is doing a fantastic job, and they need reinforcement. There's a lot of things that they need. We had a discussion with them. Our leader had some specialists from around the world who were discussing the matter a week ago, and we had the professionals talking about mental health. So talking about the realities of St. Martin, one of our candidates just achieved his doctorate in mental health care and stuff like that. So these are the things that the Democratic Party has within its members of its candidates, then, so that we are able to function in whatever position we are placed in. But the point is that I do not use this platform for just ideas, because if I have placed myself in the position where I am a candidate, it means that I must be presenting solutions and not just ideas, because everyone have ideas. I must take it to the next step, where once I'm elected into office, I can bring solutions to the table, whether it is a legislation or laws, where we can really tackle all of these situations that you talk about. Mr. Gittins came with some very good points a while ago. And just to add to them, I'm just saying the realities of St. Martin, the realities is what we need to be focused on, and tie the realities into what is feasible, what is possible, and what can be done once we're elected. Because when you get elected, especially for first-time members of parliament or first-time ministers, when they are put into office, they realize that it just doesn't work like that. Because when you get into office, you have to deal with let's say on the executive level, you have to deal with government, you have to deal with ministries, you have to deal with secretary generals and departments that dealing with the realities of a rotating budget of St. Martin that has to fund the realities of how St. Martin is ran and managed financially from the level of government. So these are things that you have to understand, and not just, it is nice to come with great ideas, but we have to take it to the next level. And this Democratic Party, we have taken it to the level, we have the experience over the years to take it to the level where we understand what Parliament is all about, what representing the people is all about, and what governing is all about, because that is what the realities that you're going to face. I
want to ask you a question, Mr. Richardson.
Yes, sir.
You spoke about ship jumping. And
Yes.
that question I'm going to pose to you first, but I also want to pose it to Mr. Gittins as well, especially based on your faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and your morals, your ethics. If elected, will you jump ship? And if you jump ship, under what conditions and why?
If I'm elected, when I'm elected, I would not jump ship. And I'll tell you, and when you bring it into my faith, my morals, and all of that, jumping ship for me is just like jumping out of a marriage when you have a first confusion. You and your wife cannot get along for whatever reason, or you differ on something. And for that difference in, let's say, of opinion on whatever it is, you all of a sudden say, I want to divorce you. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to walk away from you and walk away from the children and leave you alone with them. You know what I'm saying? And I compare it in that way. Can we fight it out? Can we stick it together for the sake of the family? What is this family here that we're talking about?
What if
the people of St. Martin?
What if the compromise or the working it together goes against your faith?
if it goes against my faith, well, that would be an extreme situation. To be honest with you, Apostle, I can't imagine that it would get to that extreme. But if I am in a situation where I am part of a team, a party that that believes in one and has one particular principle, and then it is taken over by a dictator, for example, or someone that believes in whatever and is not in line with my faith, that would be a reason that I would come to the people and I would say, based on this, because another thing with this ship jumping, or let's say becoming an independent member of parliament, there must be reasons that you have to that you can define that makes it acceptable to the people to say, yes, I can understand why he or she left because of whatever, 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 but not just jumping ship and not explain to the people of Saman because the legislation, the laws that govern parliament allows it. That is what is happening here now. Because the laws allows it, there is no real explanation as to why I'm doing it. But because I can do it, I'm just doing it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richardson. Mr. Gittens, question posed to you as well. If elected, would you jump ship? And if you are in a situation where you believe you have to, will it be based on your faith?
Yes, well, like as I said in the beginning, all my decisions are faith-based. So there's no discussion there for me with that. As far as ship jumping goes, it's an absolute no. As a parliamentarian, I will have the ability to vote my conscience, and I will do such. There is no need for me to move left, move right. Just like how you guys pose questions to me today and say, Peter, do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you for or are you against? That's all that I need to do as a parliamentarian. I need to take the people of St. Maarten into consideration, make sure that I'm doing what is just, what is right by the people of St. Maarten, and take a decision. I don't need to move from the Now Party. I don't need to declare myself independent to take those decisions. I don't need to jump ship. And I'm encouraging people, especially in this election, to look at this. Because if we are talking about faith in politics, we have to realize very quickly that there's only one true authority, and that is God's authority. And every other authority comes from that. So, if we want to pick the right politicians, the right persons for job, we need persons that realize that they have to be men and women of the right conviction, doing the right thing all the time. And that is very, very important for me. And that is something that I will be pushing and championing in myself. I just want to go back very quickly, back to the reality of St. Maarten that Mr. Richardson was speaking about. The reality of St. Maarten is that the people of St. Maarten are hurting. The reality of St. Maarten is that the people are disgusted. They have lost trust in government. And the reality is that if we are to put things back on track, it really is going to start at the core of the 15 persons that we put in Parliament come August 19th. And I encourage people to watch not only the persons jumping ship, but watch also those persons taking them or encouraging them to jump ship as well, because it's two sides of the coin. Like I said, as a parliamentarian, I don't need to move to make a decision. So when you see these things happening, look at both sides. Don't just target the ship jumper. Target those who, like for instance, in this case, were eager to bring down a government 17 days, 17 days, not 17 weeks, not 17 months, 17 days into governing. They decided, hey, enough is enough. We want to be back in there at all costs. So I'm saying it again, myself personally, ship jumping, an absolute no. There's no need for it. And when we look around, the same system that we use today is the same system that Curacao uses, is the same system that Holland uses. The systems have been put through the test. And I'm tired I am tired of hearing persons in politics say, oh, but St. Martin is a young country. We have to go through the growing pains. We have to go through. Yes, we do. But the politicians have to be able to set an example. The politicians don't need to go through those kind of growing pains where we have to be forcing them to try to legislate morality, make them, make them come up and actually start to hold themselves accountable, making sure that their core values of accountability, compassion, honesty, integrity, we're talking about loyalty, respect, we're talking about teamwork, we're talking about service, we're talking about transparency, telling the public the truth. We have to force these values out of them on a regular basis, and this is why we keep going back to elections, because the politicians try to be everything to everybody. And I'll just close very quickly and just speak quickly to First Corinthians, I believe it is, where the Apostle Paul is talking about being everything to everyone. Politics is not anything new. There is politics in the Bible. Like I said, authority, the ultimate authority, and all authority given to us comes from God. So in First Corinthians, Paul is speaking about the flexibility in ministry that we need as politicians today. He's speaking about the cultural sensitivity that we have to pay attention to, knowing that there are people of different faiths, different cultures. We're talking about straight versus LGBTQ. He's talking about servant leadership. His approach to it is one of servitude. He makes himself a slave to everyone to win more people for Christ. But what politicians need to remember and not lose sight of, which I believe they have, is the mission. The mission is everything. And that mission is to provide good governance, like Mr. Roberto said, but good governance and making sure it looks the way that God wants it to look and not the way that we want it to look. So again, August 19th, we're here. I am here. The Null is here. Peter J. Gittins is here. This is what you will be getting from me as a politician.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gittins. As you may have known and realized, we have gone way beyond our time allotted. However, the comments are now beaming with questions. Oh my goodness. The comments are now beaming with questions and comments. I believe every time it's time to get off, that is when people get more active. But
it's good engagement.
It's very good engagement. Yeah. But it definitely we can see how this platform is needed, especially in the faith-based community. Thank you so much. Before we leave, I want to ask each of you, our candidates, our guests, to give a closing remark. And I am going to ask it to be no more than 5 minutes. I know we are late. Yes, 5, because I know there are a lot to say, but I'm giving 5 minutes. At the end of the 5 minutes, put a timer on for me, please. At the end of the 5 minutes, if you take all of that, then we will ask you, we will interject. So I'm giving you 5 minutes for closing off, and after that, we wrap off. Okay, because we are still looking at some questions coming in. I'm not going to take any more questions from the comments, but still send your questions in, and hopefully the candidates can go on and they can probably do something with those questions and see what they can do. I'm going to ask Mr. Richardson to begin. So your closing comments for this segment.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much. For giving me the opportunity as a candidate of the Democratic Party to speak on your platform. I think it's been very informative, and I'm so very much pleased that faith has been included in the whole aspect of how we govern St. Martin. And I have said in so many platforms over the last years, my message is the same. It is clear. People know who I am. They know what I represent as an individual. So I need not have to repeat it over and over again. After this, I'm going to another program, another live stream. So I am going to save all of the long winding discussions and talks that I do have. But the people of St. Martin know who I am. They know that I have been there for you. They know my track record. They know I have been able to represent you, the people of St. Martin, in so many various aspects. I didn't even go into the details of some of the achievements that I've made on behalf of the people of St. Martin. That would clearly state that I am capable of representing you. But in any case, the Democratic Party of St. Maarten, I go back to our party on the leadership of Sir Westcott Williams, is the party to take us to where we have to go. It doesn't matter what everyone says or make any comments because we are all politicking at this point in time, but the fact speaks for itself that in the rough times, you do not really gamble with what you don't know. You want to go, you want to fight with who you know. But I believe individually, personally, that God has called me for this time. People say, Roberto, why you didn't run earlier? It's because I just felt that God did not call me to do that, and I supported whether it was my brother or whether it was other candidates over the years. So I've been very close to politics, understand how it works. I understand the campaigning, but I also understand the representing and governing, because those are the realities that I was saying that Mr. Gittins responded on. Those are the realities. When you go into office, then you realize it is not just what you keep saying all the time because it sounds good, but the reality is that what you face is when you go into office, when you are elected. So it's in saying that everything for me is clear. I am there for you, as my slogan states. I am looking forward to be one of the candidates, one of the 15 members of Parliament, because I believe that I would be able to represent the people of St. Maarten the way that they should be in terms of good governance, be able to work with and people that we didn't talk about that, or be able to work with the people that are appointed. I'm talking about the civil service corps. We don't talk about them a lot, but they play a role in all of what we are talking about here because we have to sit with them in office and we have to work with them and we have to cooperate with them to be able to manage this country in the direction that goes in. But more so, I will say this: we as the Democratic Party, we stand for a strong economy. Our minister of finance, as well as our minister of TET, are in crucial ministries that represent those two areas, because without money, without revenues, without an increase of revenues, St. Martin will not be able to achieve the things that we are talking about, whether it is something from a social aspect or our educational aspect or our health aspect. It all boils out to money, and this Democratic Party is the party that would develop the revenue, develop revenues coming to the coffers, and more so revenues, indirect taxation and stuff like that, that would not affect the people of St. Martin. The St. Martin people need a break in terms of taxation, and that is one of our priorities to govern as we move on. And so I want to just say thank you very much. I want you on the 19th of August to go out there, choose your candidate of choice, 1 to 23, the Democratic Party, and vote red, vote for the party of regeneration, vote for the party that has brought us from where we were to where we are and where we're going, the party that no one can say at the end of the day, this St. Martin that we have become, whether it's for some is good or some is bad, everyone is here. Everyone is staying here. Everyone wants to be here. And that proves that the 70 years of the Democratic Party, it has proven to be a success story for the people of St. Martin.
Thank
I
you
want to
so
say
much,
thank you
Mr.
very much, and
Richardson.
God bless all of you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richardson. Thank you for being on the program. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate your insights. We appreciate your views. And thank you for representing the Democratic Party. Mr. Gittins, your 5 minutes.
Yes, I want to start by saying a very, extending my gratitude to the hosts and the organizers of Faith in Politics, for allowing me to be here, for allowing me to express my views, and for giving me the opportunity to speak to believers. I think it's very important, and I just want to use these last few minutes to zone in on the persons on this particular platform, particularly because I do believe that the church has a very major role to play in what goes on in society and in what goes on in government in general. I will quote Second Chronicles verse 7 and 14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn away from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land. This is telling me that the persons in this group, in this sitting, you have the power. You, the believers, God's people, have the ability to make the decisions. You have the power to make the change. Others will benefit from it, but you have that power. And I'm urging you guys to dig deep. So, search, do what you have to do, and come out and let that power be heard and let God be heard. You know, this calls for humility. It calls for us to humble ourselves and acknowledge that we really need his help and his guidance for such a time as this to get through what we're going for. It calls for us to pray, to seek God. It's essential for him, to express and let him know that we're depending on him. We need to seek God's face. That means that we need to align ourselves with his will. We need, as believers, we need to turn around and repent from whatever it is that's going on and be honest to ourselves, to our core about it, and then expect to hear that divine response from God. And I believe that that response will be overwhelming if we do what is right come August 19th. And I'm encouraging every single one of you to continue to pray for this country, pray for this nation, and continue to pray for myself as a candidate. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying my best to be the David that God has put me out here to be. So I'm encouraging you to come on out on August 19th. Vote by putting God first and vote for his humble servant, Keith Peter John Giddens. I'm candidate number 4 on the Now Party. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gittens, for your last remarks. I'm going to hand over to my colleague, and we are going to wrap up the session. Thank you guys so much for being there. We thank you for your time. God bless you all, and much success at the polls on the 19th of August.
Indeed. Thank you so much. We want to commend you for making good use of that last 5 minutes as well, to share your thoughts and to make that appeal to the electorate in St. Maarten. Tomorrow, join us again. We will have the third and final session for Faith in Politics. It starts at 10:30 hours, and we should be hearing from the URSM, the UP Party, and the PFP. So please remember to share the live and get more people involved so that we can be engaging the audience of St. Maarten as they hear from all of the political candidates that have openly confessed their faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. We want to also encourage you to send your questions in early so that we can also share some of your questions. I would like to give a little caveat there,
Yes.
Apostle. None of the questions have been shared with the candidates before and so forth. So we're really just winging it. It's very spontaneous and responsive based off of what they would have said to us in the interview sessions. All right, so they have to come prepared, and we expect that we are also receiving competent people. Remember, our slogan for this series is vetting before voting, or vet before you vote. And it is important for us to have an informed electorate. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we will see you back here tomorrow on this platform, Ivan Valerie, Carrot Quest Media, and the St. Martin United Ministerial Foundation's page. We will have a reflection on Friday, hearing from leaders in the faith based community, their reflection on the series. God bless you and see you tomorrow morning at 10:30 hours.